Welcome to Chapter 2, Bodies. In this chapter, we explore how biology and culture work together to shape what we think we know about gender differences. Let's start with the basics. Sexual dimorphism refers to the typical physical and behavioral differences between males and females of a species. In humans, those differences exist, but they're far less extreme than in many other animals. Research on gender differences and similarities. For decades, researchers have been asking, how different are men and women really? And just as importantly, what counts as a real difference? Defining difference. There are several ways people try to define gender differences. Definition 1. Gender differences are real if we can measure them. These are called observed differences, things we detect in surveys, experiments, or studies that show variations between groups. But here's the catch. Our results can be influenced by something called priming. That's when reminding people of a stereotype right before a test causes them to behave in ways that reflect that stereotype. There are also learned differences, which come from the way we're raised, our families, peers, religion, education, and the media that shape our expectations of gender. Definition 2. Gender differences are real if they appear in all or most cultures throughout history. But when we look closely, many of the universal patterns we assume are actually cultural, not biological. Definition 3. Gender differences are real if they're biological. That includes our genes, which are the instructions that build our bodies, our hormones, the chemical messengers that affect growth and behavior, and our brains, which develop through a mix of biology and experience. Definition 4. Gender differences are real only if they're biological and unchangeable. But as research continues, we see that biology itself responds to experience, so even hardwired differences can evolve over time. Similarities between men and women. Now let's talk about what men and women share and how much of that similarity we overlook. This brings us to the nature versus nurture debate. The nature side says men and women are born different. The nurture side says we become different because of socialization. Reality lies somewhere in between. Naturalism assumes biology acts independently of culture. Culturalism assumes we're blank slates shaped entirely by environment. But the truth is, we are biocultural beings. Through biocultural interaction, our bodies respond to culture, and culture in turn shapes our bodies and behavior. This is why we talk about deceptive differences, differences that look bigger than they really are once we account for social context. Intersectionality, putting gender in context. We also need to recognize that gender never exists in isolation. Intersectionality reminds us that gender intersects with race, class, sexuality, and ability. Each of us lives at the crossroads of these identities. There's no single normative standard of what it means to be a man or a woman. Evolution and adaptation. Finally, let's touch on evolution and family patterns. Nuclear families, a mother, father, and children living together, are only one form of family. Across cultures and history, people have organized into kin groups and forager societies, adapting family life to their environment in many different ways. So even when we talk about natural differences, we have to remember that what's natural has always evolved alongside culture. In summary, this chapter helps us see that our understanding of bodies and gender isn't fixed. It's an ongoing conversation between biology, culture, and lived experience. Keep this in mind as we move forward. Our bodies and our ideas about them are always co-creating each other.